On Your Own in the Wilderness by Townsend Whelen, Bradford Angier, and major contributions by Venna Angier. Chapter 1, Lure of the Trail. A lot of us are working harder than we want at things we don't like to do. Why? In order to afford the sort of existence we don't care to live. If one hears the call of the open places, why shall he not answer it as fully as he may, while eyes will never be keener nor strides more lusty? Scientists remind us that nature intended human beings should spend most of their hours beneath open skies. With appetite sharpened by outdoor living, they should eat plain food, they should live at their natural God-given paces, unoppressed by the artificial hurry and tension of man-made civilization. Yet the mass of city men stocking their meat at the crowded market instead of in the green woods and cool marshes put up with existences of quiet desperation. They make themselves sick that they may lay up something against a sick day. Their incessant anxiety and strain is a well-nigh incurable form of disease. How sensible is it to spend all of the best parts of one's life earning money in order to enjoy a questionable liberty during the least valuable years? Not everyone may fully heed the summons of the farther places, of course, but many who think themselves shackled to civilized tasks are held only by such deceptive strands as habit, inertia, environment, doubt, resignation, lack of confidence, and often by a general misunderstanding of the makeup of men. The truth is, Homo sapiens was bred for the tall forest and singing brooks. He was molded for the wind-rounded desert, the shadowy canyons, and a mountaintop where the breeze blows free. Just the thought of the great calling north with its beckoning rivers can cause the most civilized pulse to beat faster. An unseen animal crawling through simmering grasslands, a lynx crouched in a sun-yellowed tree, and wolves howling beyond the fringes of a small bright campfire beside a lapping lake all have the power to make even the most carefully barbered nape hairs prickle involuntarily. Man gets along in his steaming asphalt swamps after a fashion, but is it the healthy and normal life? Ask any family doctor, plagued as he is by long lists of complaints, symptoms of nothing so much as man's instinctive rebellion against the race to destruction into which he has pressed himself. Deep down underneath, it may well be this very revolt that is driving him more and more towards those atomic weapons of annihilation that can plunge those of us who survive back to the cave with its roasting haunch of venison sputtering above a simple warm blaze in front. Beneath pastel shirt and doeskin slacks, even the most unassuming junior assistant is not far removed from the savage. His inherent ferocity is more painstakingly hidden, that is all. If anything, it is potentially all the more violent for having no natural outlet, like that can of beans the tenderfoot buries in heat, unpunctured in a campfire's embers. Call it what you will, but each of us still kills to live, though we may hire it done by the stockyard, the tannery, and the pharmaceutical houses. As civilization stretches what has been called its gentling influence more benevolently about this battered globe, it is disturbing to have to agree with our military experts that in its ultimate aspects this carnage becomes more wholesale and ruinous. Better the instinct be more nearly answered as nature intended, by the wholesome hunting and fishing for food and materials with which to remain alive. The truth of this lies in the observation of Frank R. Butler, long head of British Columbia's Game Commission, that less than 1% of the disturbingly multiplying hordes of juvenile delinquents have habitually followed hunting, fishing, or other outdoor activities. Commissioner Butler also cites the experience of Judge William G. Long of adjoining Seattle, who, noting that in over 20 years he has handled some 45,000 juvenile cases, recalled that among them there was not a single instance of serious juvenile misconduct involving a youngster whose hobby and recreational outlet was fishing. The inference is obvious. One reaction crowding on the increasingly relentless synthetic heels of formula and parties and nuclear propellants is a yearning to return to the land. This is reflected by the fact that in the United States alone, more than 32 million hunting and fishing licenses are sold each year, that over 47,800,000 visitors are now recorded annually at our national parks and monuments, and that never has the demand for outdoor books been more avid. Please remember this is the early 1900s. First printing in 1958. Modern pioneers of both sexes, jolted from their ruts by cataclysm, actual and threatened, want to laugh in farther places where meat is free for the hunting, fishing for the catching, fuel for the cutting, land for the settling, and habitation for the satisfaction of building. Such reversion toward the simple life is as wholesome as eggs and cream. Not everybody realizes that at the start of the last century, less than 4 of every 100 Americans lived in communities of 8,000 or more. By the start of the most recent world strife, over half the public's population was so confined. The cost of a thing is the amount of life required to be exchanged for it, immediately or in the long run. When one has obtained those essentials necessary for well-being, food, shelter, warmth, and clothing, there is an alternative to struggling through steel jungles for the luxuries. That's to adventure on life itself, one's vacation from humble toil having commenced. Whereas, in his tangled metallic thicket, a man does well merely to exist, back of beyond he can live, breathe clean air, beholden to none, doing what he wants most to do and giving it his best. That is why the day comes for even the more patient of us when a great town's restless movement becomes oppressive. A lot of the inanities begin making even less sense. The remorseless hurry to get nowhere in particular, the hopeless and yet always hopeful bustle, and the more and more deadly boredom of grimy, assertive amusements for an unamused multitude. We all need the tonic of wilderness. This is one reason why the hardest and roughest trips often become the milestones by which outdoor careers are later most pleasantly measured. We remember working a canoe overloaded with game shot along the way down the uninhabited half moon of the southwest Miramichi River just before one New Brunswick freeze-up. The stinging whiteness of driving sleet became so heavy that it was difficult to pick a channel among the numerous onrushing rocks, to say nothing of retaining a hold with numbing hands on ice-encrusted paddles. Then there was a Siwashing trip in an unusually semi-arid range of the northern Rockies, when week after month of rain attacking from overhead and underfoot and from sodden bush on every side eventually soaked every portion of our small outfit, so that there was no longer an ordinary comfort even in sleeping. To some extent, it is the satisfaction of having overcome such challenges that has emblazoned these hunts in our minds, while many an entirely enjoyable wilderness journey blends almost forgotten with the nostalgic past. Such gratification is based in part on the inhibition riding, doubt dissolving realization that you have proved yourself equal to the worst the elements have to offer. Public opinion is a weak tyrant compared with our own private self-estimations. It is recollections such as these which, reaching out with unbidden thoughts, that quicken the breathing and add a tang of free conifer forest to even the stalest big town air. Keep pulling at us with the tentacles of re-aroused racial memories until we break away from civilization's complications yet again. Everyone answers such urges in his own fashion, with evenings of surf casting, holidays of ice fishing, or banging away at clay pigeons. Weekends of varmint plinking or making wooden screws spell boat, and in puttering around at odd hours with fly tying kits or checkering tools. Each of us heeds them almost all with days and weeks of our favorite hunting and fishing, or, if you are as fortunate as we too have been, with years upon years spent in the wildest and more stirringly remote areas of this continent.